In the name of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Please be seated. For nearly 2 centuries, Mary, the mother of Jesus, has had an omnipresent position in many branches of the Christian faith. And yet, for all the prayers, worship, and adoration bestowed upon her, Mary does not have many appearances in the New Testament. She has one mentioned in the Gospel of Mark, although not by name, 2 in the Gospel of John, but also not by name. She appears 5 times in the Gospel of Matthew and 12 times in the Gospel of Luke. If the New Testament were a film, Mary is one of those supporting characters who steals every scene she's in but never wins the Oscar. Our gospel reading today reveals one of the ways in which we meet Mary. The text begins. Now the birth of Jesus the Messiah took place in this way. We hear that Mary is found to be with child from the Holy Spirit, and then the focus shifts to Joseph and his reaction to this astounding and unbelievable news. We hear of his encounter with an angel from God. We hear the echoing words of the prophet Isaiah that Mary is bringing the fulfillment of prophecy, but here in the Gospel of Matthew, when it comes to this young pregnant woman, we are not given much more information. We never actually hear her speak. But no matter how you do or don't think about Mary, over the centuries, a central aspect of her character has developed. Mary has become the exemplar of obedience. She is Mary, meek and mild. She personifies humility. The Gospel of John does show us another side. Her strength and spirit are evident in the story of the wedding at Cana, when the wine runs out. Mary, with imperious authority, tells the servants to do whatever her son tells them to do. Jesus offers some initial objections, but remember, in the end, neither the servants nor her son disobey her. But still, this version of Mary is not one we usually recall. It is not the image of Mary in stained glass, much like our own stained glass, clad in blue robes, her child cradled in her lap, whether as a newborn baby or as the grown man just taken off the cross. These images reflect a portion of Mary, but they are only a part of her story. Because no matter what Mary does is no small thing. Mary says yes to God and agrees to bear this child who will fulfill the expectations of so many, the long-awaited Messiah. God incarnate, the child who is part of the lineage of David. And Joseph, too, does this thing which is not small. He offers his acquiescence to the will of God. He offers his willingness to suspend disbelief, suspicion, and probably a certain amount of brokenheartedness that his marriage is not to be as he expected. Mary and Joseph, this Jewish couple living in their small village outside of Jerusalem, say yes to the angels, which then means they have no choice but to step out of the certainty of their lives, their families, and the expectations of their community, the religious practices and traditions known to them and expected of them. In saying yes to God, they move out of their normal lives and systems of belief into something wholly other. What we witness on these pages of our Gospels are 2 fundamental acts of bravery. Mary, with her yes, Joseph, in his agreement, are transported with little time for breath from the known territory of their traditional Jewish faith practice into a lifetime of wondering, questioning, and spiritual wrestling. The story of Mary and Joseph contains all the quintessential elements of what is called in storytelling and mythology the hero's quest. Joseph Campbell was a literature professor who worked in the fields of comparative mythology and comparative religion. A self-proclaimed mythologist, he wrote about the human experience. His most famous work, published in 1949, is a book called The Hero with 1,000 Faces. In this work, he writes about the journey of the hero, describing it as a myth pattern that can be found across cultures and times. Campbell writes this about the path the hero's journey takes. A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from this mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man. The hero in the story is called, the quest is given, and because the hero always accepts the quest and steps out into the unknown. Mary and Joseph are the heroes of our story today. They are both called, if in different ways. The supernatural comes to each of them. The angel appears and the quest is given. She is to give birth to the Son of the Most High, who will take the throne of his ancestor David, and of his kingdom there will be no end. In the Gospel of Luke, Mary accepts the quest with these words, "Here I am. Let it be with me according to your word." Joseph doesn't use words, but we witness his acceptance of God's call in his actions. He doesn't leave Mary, he stays. And in making that commitment, he too becomes a part of this journey. Why? Why would they accept this extraordinary change in their lives? I think the answer is both simple and utterly complex. It is faith. They both have faith in God, and that is the catalyst. It is faith that allows them to say yes. It is faith that allows them to take the next steps on their hero's journey, to take their first steps into the unknown. It takes faith to step away from your traditional beliefs and the known world of community and family. It takes faith to trade the known for the unknown, trading what we think, we believe, and know for a state of unknowing. The life of faith God calls us into is not an equation solved by knowledge. It is not a fundamental understanding of what is true. It is not equivalent to making a declaration of what we believe. Faith is a different thing. Faith evolves along with us as we make our way through the years of our lives. Faith is the step into the unknown, the foot off the cliff. Faith is the path that takes us beyond the spiritual comforts we experience. Faith is not so much settling into the familiarity of our spiritual practices, although we are creatures who need these comforts and they are necessary for our lives. But faith like Mary's, like the faith of Joseph, this is a kind of faith that allows an individual to step out into what is untried and untested, with very few traveling certainties other than the knowledge that God will always equip those who answer the call. Alan Watts was a 20th century philosopher of Eastern religions, and in a book called The Wisdom of Insecurity, he tried to capture the difference between faith and belief. Among much else, he wrote the following: "Faith is an unreserved opening of the mind to the truth, whatever it may turn out to be. Faith has no preconceptions. It is a plunge into the unknown. Belief clings, but faith lets go. In this sense of the word, faith is the essential virtue of science, and likewise of any religion that is not self-deception. Mary and Joseph did not cling to the lives they knew. They did not hold fast to the religious beliefs that had carried them and their communities through years and centuries of tradition and promise and settled life and religious practice. When God showed up in angelic splendor and knocked everything they had ever known and believed out of balance, what did they do? They let go. Mary trusted. Joseph trusted that they were following God and that they were where God wanted them to be and who God wanted for the task. The presence of God was evident in their lives even as it knocked them completely off course. So how is it that God is evident in our lives? Have you ever experienced those flickering thoughts which, if explored, might knock your life off its previously prescribed course? Belief clings, but faith lets go. We are all called on this hero's journey of life with God. What might happen if, like Mary and Joseph, we step out in faith, let go of our preconceived notions and comforts, accept the hero's quest, and open ourselves to the unknown life of God?